Was The Secret Life of Bees, and the bees represented the characters' lives and how complicated they were and how drastic they could have changed.
Well, all this bee talk has reminded me of a movie I saw called The Wicker Man. It's got Nick Cage in it, and he's just freaking out because they torture him with these bees. And he's like, the bees! Not the bees! Right, there's bees.
Oh.
No! Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah!
The honey represents what the bees make, and the honey actually leads her to the family. She found in her mother's belongings the label for the honey, and that's what leads her to the town where she finds out about her past and her mother.
Set.
I have here a bag of rice, which symbolizes what Lily's father would do to her as a punishment. He'd make her kneel on this rice. I don't know what it feels like or how it's a punishment, but he'd make her do it for hours on end, and it pretty much contributed to her leaving him.
The police badge represents the police brutality throughout the story. At the beginning of the story, Rosalie is arrested, and Lily breaks her out after she was brutally beaten. Then later in the story, it also becomes a problem for other characters, and leads to a lot of conflicts.
The book takes place during the Civil Rights Movement, and while the book is taking place, the Civil Rights Act is actually signed, which causes a large number of problems for all of the characters in the book. First of all, Rosaline gets arrested because she wants to sign up to vote, and on the way there, she kind of pours some spit juice on some officers' shoes, which may not have been the best choice, but she later gets arrested, and then because of the Civil Rights Act, she kind of gets beaten by the police. That's not fun. And then later on in the book, when Zach and Lily are kind of falling in love, due to social norms, they can't really be together, or at least in public. And then also later on, a police officer comes to August's house and tells Lily that she should move out as soon as possible because living with so-called black folks is lowering her and that she should definitely get out of there.
August is the oldest of the sisters. She runs the bee farm. She is pretty much just like a mother figure to Lily. And Lily constantly asks her, to tell her the truth about her mother, which she eventually does.
June is the middle sister, and she is very strict. She plays music but doesn't like Lily at the beginning. She's in love with Neil but doesn't get married to him until way later.
And then May is the youngest sister. She's very depressed and feels like the weight of the world is on her shoulders. So to cope with these feelings, she went to her Wailing Wall. But after hearing about Zach's arrest later on in the book, it became too much for her, and then she drowned herself in the river near their house.
There was one more sister, but she died very early in the beginning of the book.
Her name was April. Oh, and as a source of TJ's rage, we forgot to mention that Lily accidentally shot her mom.
Punishment time!
Yeah, we're gonna try this. I wanna know.
Sure.
That's not too.
Well,
I don't see doing this for a couple of hours.
yeah. An hour seems like a very extended amount of time to be doing this.
Let alone 2.
This is not...
Like all the little
You're not
scars
even
she had on her
leaning it,
knees,
dude.
I mean.
That's not kneeling.
This is kneeling.
No, it's not. Get up. Get up.
This is the same thing. Ow. Okay,
Ow.
we're gonna...
Come on, Lord.
Oh, man. Oh! There are marks right there. Oh, look at it.
Ow.
That
This must have been what was her name? Jeanette's face must have looked like when Rex was picking pebbles out of her face.
Oh, my God. That is...
Literary merit for The Secret Life of Bees is, it gives you life lessons on life.
It accurately depicts the civil rights movement on a more personal level than rather just a broad spectrum.
And it relates to problems we still have in society today. A is for apple, B is for...
Oh my God, the bees!